can officially say he is back, Stuart Briscoe. And if this is your first time, pardon me, and we're getting more and more first timers, welcome to our podcast called The Rant Network. Both Stuart and I host it every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, where we bring you unfiltered, uncensored conversations on a wide variety of topics. And the podcast is dedicated to giving you the platform to express your opinions, and we do get your opinions, and we integrate it into our show here. Share your thoughts, experiences, ideas, and hear from a variety of perspectives and frank, honest opinions. Join us as we dive into the latest news, and today is the latest news, pop culture, politics, and so much more. From the rants about absurdity of modern life, and today could not be more absurd, to discussions about the deeper issues affecting our society. The Rant Network has you covered. Sit back, enjoy, relax. In this journey journey of discovery and exploration. My feet are gone. It's time to join the Rant Network. And speaking of absurdity, ladies and gentlemen, it's with great pause that I have to announce today, if you haven't heard, Donald Trump was indicted. Finally, Alvin Bragg and his cast of merry men, women, and lunatics have decided that it is high time, along with a grand jury, to indict a former president of the United States. We have now joined the ranks of the banana republics in many European countries who've decided that absurdity and attacking a former leader makes sense. But Stuart, I think that there is so much more frightening stuff ahead of us than just simply saying, yay, Donald Trump is going to jail.
Yep. David, I'm happy to be back. Getting stranded in out of town is definitely an interesting experience. And as far as being stranded and abandoned, it seems that the political normalcy that we were accustomed to for 250 years has gone clear out the window. And the politicization of branches of government, which is reminiscent of, the most recent totalitarian governments of like the Soviet Union, Russia, Venezuela, Cuba, where the use of these government agencies against the people is really an unbelievable turn of events. I was, fortunately busy catching up at work yesterday and was not able to get involved in this news cycle nonsense where my infamous cousin Rupert sends me a message that the motherfucker has been indicted, And when you think about the joy that people have on saying, yeah, I like the fact that guy got indicted. Yeah, without understanding the rule of law. So what is an indictment? Well, it's where a jury they're supposed to be peers, right? When you say peers, when you have a jury or a panel, in a grand jury, they need to show evidence to a group of people that are unbiased. Well, there is no such thing as unbiased in today's political spectrum. And is the state of New York, which is not a lover of Donald J. Trump, are you going to find a panel of unbiased people? Probably not. But all things considered, and again, the Democratic leaders are saying we should wait patiently and allow the judicial system to process. Well, let's take another step back and flashback in history. There was once a man called the Teflon Don. His name was Gotti. And the government went after Gotti for years and years and years and eventually got him. Donald J. Trump has had more lawsuits and more branches of government trying to put handcuffs on him than the infamous John Gotti. Let's think about this. John Gotti was a murderer. John Gotti was a drug dealer. Allegedly, all these things, allegedly. John Gotti was the kingpin of organized crime, racketeering, extortion, money laundering. Okay? The list goes on. The resources that the American people have put into an indictment at a local level for what they're claiming is a federal crime has never been done in American law, has never been done in American history. In fact, there's never indicted a former president, but it wasn't indicted federally. He's been indicted regionally. So the regional DA went and decided that he has the right and ability to make a person for what is not even a crime regionally, for a crime that might be federal. Okay. That sounds like a lot of mumbo jumbo. And anyone who's swinging left is like, I don't give a shit, Stuart. I don't care. It's Donald J. Trump. He needs to be in bars. And, one of the reasons why the Republicans didn't pursue a Hillary, because we don't want to politicize beyond their departure to destroy the government agency and the trust in that agency. And this is really a sad day. Now, listen, if Donald J. Trump is guilty, he needs to serve and he will have his day in court. But was the court that was being selected really allowed to have it? And now the rule of law says he can still run for president, even as being indicted. So the only thing, and hang on, David, let me finish. The only thing that the Democrats have done has basically put into play, which very well may be the very biggest red wave, as much or better than Ronald Reagan. Wow. Because now you have two Republican young candidates that are going to be pushed to the light, and anyone that understands law, anyone that isn't an independent, that sees this as a wrecking of our judicial system, politicization of our political system, are going to push Ron DeSantis and Nikki Haley into the president and vice president seats. And so for that, I am thankful for the District of Manhattan for putting this into play. And you know what, David? At the end of the day, I have now an official wager with my cousin Rupert that this is going to be the cause and effect of this insanity. And the same example that I gave about the BLM movement, anyone that's supporting this radical behavior is going to be wiped out. One of the bigger sponsors of BLM, Dave, just as a note, was Adidas. Adidas is now suing BLM. So as I am about to bring in something that wasn't on the topic, because David's going to point that out, it is on the topic, because anyone that's supporting any form of anarchy is really now pushing everyone into one side. And that is going to be logic and freedom.
David? So your points are absolutely valid. And here's the crazy thing about what you just said, is because you talked about the supporting of the anarchy. And where is the support coming from? Of course, the Democratic Party. And when I said we should be afraid of what's going on here, the one tenet that is Western society has always pushed has been innocent till proven guilty. Except Nancy Pelosi, the former Speaker of the House, has decided that that's actually not fact anymore. That when it comes to Donald Trump, as she wrote in her tweet, the grand jury has acted upon the facts and the law. No one is above the law, and everyone has a right to a trial to prove innocence. Hopefully, the former president will peacefully respect the system which grants him that right. Excuse me. First of all, the charges have not been publicized, so I don't know where she's coming from to say that this is fact and law. And number two, you don't go to court to prove innocence. The court has to take you to prove your guilt. And this is what's twisted. And this is the beginning of a domino effect that if you see what goes on in those puppet governments and what goes on in those banana republics in which the government decides you're guilty and you have to fight for your innocence, congratulations, Nancy. You have joined the ranks of the Venezuelan and the various African nations that have this kind of mindset. This is absolutely absurd. Okay. There are others who have done the same thing. Other Democrats have, piped up the same thing. Alan Dershowitz, who many think, oh, he loves Trump. He is a pure hardcore Democrat who's upset with the Democratic Party because they're using fake charges here. And he called out Alvin Bragg and said, these are fake charges. You did something that has never been done before and shouldn't be done because you're creating charges where there are no charges. This is purely political. And by having this trial in Manhattan, Donald Trump has zero chance at a fair trial, which is another part of the tenet of the American judicial system, the right to a fair trial.
But David, here is, I believe, their mission in this. By doing so, the Trump legal team will likely file a petition at the Supreme Court that will take a vast amount of time to get a decision to overlap the election. And again, the Supreme Court, I believe, the real Supreme Court, not the Supreme Court of Manhattan, in the Supreme Court of the United States is going to strike down all of this, that they had overreached their little area of law. But that's going to take years. You see, the legal system is just, right? Because you have a blind woman holding a scale. But what they don't have there is an hourglass, because the legal system is a very slow process.
See, my problem with all this, Stuart, I get the process is legal and I get what is going on. What is disgusting, and this is what I'm afraid of, and Alan Dershowitz actually brought it up and numerous times in interviews, is that today everybody who on the left or the Democrats or Rupert, I hope you're listening, Rupert, you're applauding that your president has been indicted. Do you know who's tomorrow's indictment? You and me. And that's what Alan Dershowitz says. The moment you set this precedent, you open up the courts to do unilateral moves like this, and you and I are next. And if you're going to go, it'll never happen in the United States. Well, come on, open your eyes, wake up, because this is what's happening. And we've seen it in other countries. Now, look, if you look at other countries where presidents have been guilty and what have you, and they waited till after they left office to be tried and indicted, absolutely, within the statute of limitations. They still respected the law. You still had to respect the law. You could say Netanyahu in Israel is a great example. He has been chased like crazy, and everybody says he's guilty, 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 but there hasn't been a single indictment because he has been proven innocent. But the court of
hang on. Indictment. You're using the word indictment. What is an indictment, David? An indictment.
Hold on. My point is that these trumped up charges have now forced this whole concept of revising the judicial system because there's too much power in the judicial side. You want that in the United States? You want that in the Western world? You're going to get it. It's a frightening Stalinist style of work, and you're going to go down a path of resistance that's going to be, it's scary, Stuart. It's pretty frightening, scary. Stuart, last word to you, my friend.
I think this is going to control the news cycle, which is going to provide coverage of the inadequacies of the Biden government. And I think now that they've got a real news cycle of something other than the horrible governance of the United States over the last 2 years, that they are also holding the prowess that they are not going to be exposed for every little thing that they do, and they're going to be talking about Donald J. Trump. David?
All right, look, this is it for today. Thanks for tuning in, listening to the Rant Network. Look, we hope you enjoyed this conversation. We've got many, many more with valuable insights. We appreciate your support, and join us every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, noon Eastern. That's right, noon Eastern. You can grab us on YouTube, Rumble. We are all over social media. Just like us, share your thoughts, share it with everybody. Remember, we want to hear from you. We really thank you so much, folks. Thanks again. Catch you on Monday. Have a wonderful week.